The Walking Dead is my favorite TV show of all time, even though it has had its problems over the years and some of the seasons have been less than average. I still love it. In this video, I will be ranking all 10 seasons of The Walking Dead. Number 10 is Season 7, and this was the slowest season overall. Not much happened. I think one of the main problems is when they focus on one place and a few characters instead of switching between places, which made a lot of the episodes slow and boring, like episodes like The Cell, The Well, Swear, and Go-Getters, which are some of my least favorite episodes. When they focus on one place in one episode, it tends to get boring, but if they switch between places in an episode, you get less bored of the story. I also think this season could have been shortened by like half a season. And some characters in this season bothered me, like Rosita, and the trash people are stupid and don't make sense, and also don't add much to the story. Some things I like are the season finale, which I think is one of the best episodes of the season, but there is nothing much to compare it to. And I like Negan and a lot of the mid-season finale where Negan guts Spencer and Daryl and Rick reunite. Sasha's sacrifice at the end of the season is alright, but I never cared too much for her character. I do think a bad choice was the cliffhanger we had for the end of Season 6 with the Lucille kill, and the choice of having Glenn and Abraham die wasn't needed, but was alright even though Abraham survived his comic death only to die a few episodes later. That is why Season 7 is my least favorite season. Number 9 is Season 8. This season is a little better than Season 7, but made some bad decisions, like killing Carl. I, like many people, think that Carl's death might be the worst decision the show has made. I did think this season started out good with the first few episodes, but after episode 5, it starts to slow down. Some things I didn't like was the storyline with Aaron where he's trying to get Oceanside to help them, but in the end they didn't really help out much. And the finale wasn't that great with a final fight in a field by a tree. And I didn't like Maggie and Daryl in the end being against Rick. Daryl and the whole season kinda bothered me, with being against Rick all the time and messing up the plans. I did like that they finally brought back Morales after all this time, but they killed him off immediately, so it didn't really matter. I also liked the fight with Negan and Rick in episode 12, and the fact that the trash people were killed and made Jadis a more compelling character and made me a little more interested into her story. But overall, I think the Negan and the all-out war storyline went on too long, and by the end of it, I didn't really care too much about it. Number 8 is Season 6, and like Season 8, it started out great with the first few episodes, but started to slow down after. I think the Glenn fake-out death was kinda dumb and pointless, especially since he died not too long after. The wolves didn't do too much after they were teased in Season 5, but I still like episode 2, where they are most focused on. And I think the No Way Out storyline was done very well, with episode 9 being my favorite episode of the season. They really started teasing Negan in the second half of the season, and this is where that storyline begins. I like seeing new places like Hilltop, but in this season Hilltop kinda felt a little empty, which I think they fixed that problem in later seasons. I like episode 12 where they attack the satellite outpost, but the episode after with Maggie and Carol is one of my least favorite episodes. And the story with Carol near the end of the season, I don't really care too much for it. I like what they did for Denise's death when she gets Abraham's comic death. But then at the end of the season, we get the cliffhanger of who Negan killed, and I think this was a horrible way to do it. It ruins the scene, and we had to wait until the next season to see who it was that Negan killed. Number 7 is Season 10, and I know the finale hasn't aired yet, but I don't think it will change where I put Season 10 on the list. I think the first episode was good with the training day being really cool and the satellite coming down, which is interesting and new. I really like Daryl and Connie's relationship, with Daryl learning sign language and Connie is one of my favorite new characters, but it's a shame that we haven't seen her since episode 9. Carol did make a lot of mistakes this season, but hopefully in the future she won't cause any more problems. I enjoyed Sadiq and would have liked to see more of him, and it was sad to see him go, especially since Carl sacrificed his life for him. Beta was cool and has a scene I really like with him coming through the grave into Alexandria with his cool theme playing. Beta also started becoming even more crazy than he already was. Negan is fun as always, and his plan to kill Alpha was great. Also, that episode where Gamma, Earl, and Alpha dies is one of my favorite episodes of this season. I think all of their deaths were done in a great way, and I am satisfied with all of those scenes. Michonne's last episode was alright, but I don't know how I feel about the alternate timeline where Michonne becomes a savior. And it's not as good as Rick's last episode, of course, but it isn't bad. This was a good season, and I can't wait for the finale to come out October 4th. I hope it is really good, especially since the long break we had to wait. Number 6 is Season 9, and this season really brought new fresh air into the show because the few seasons before this were not as good. I like that they got Angela Kang as the new showrunner because she has done a good job in updating the show and giving new life and making it better. I didn't like that Maggie and Daryl went against Rick to try and kill Negan, but I like how the story was done in this season, and I like the scene with Daryl and Rick in the hole. Rick's last episode was great, and seeing Shane and Herschel again is so nice to see, especially since Scott Wilson died not too long before the episode aired. But I didn't like that Sasha is the third person that Rick sees, because Sasha and Rick didn't talk to each other that much, and I didn't really care too much for her character. There were other people who could have showed up that would have been better, like Glenn would have been nice to see. But other than that, I don't really have any other problems with that episode. I really like Judith in this season. Now that we have a time skip, she became more of an actual character. I like how the Whisperers are introduced in the mid-season finale, with it being creepy, and then one dodging Jesus' attack and stabbing him was cool. Some people hated Henry, but I didn't mind him. And I like that we at least got to see some of Carl's comic story being done with him. The Pike scene was crazy with all the deaths we got, and the finale didn't feel too much like a finale, but was nice, and we finally got to see some snow in the show. Number 5 is Season 4, and I thought the sickness story arc at the beginning of the season was new and interesting, and in this season, Carol started to become a bigger character. Herschel had a good story this season with him helping out the sick people, and his speech in episode 3 was one of his best moments. The 2 Governor solo episodes were some of my least favorite episodes, but it led up to the mid-season finale, which is a great episode, and it was sad to see Herschel's death and the prison being destroyed. The second half isn't as good as the first half, with everyone being split up, but it's good to see certain characters together. I like some of the stuff between Daryl and Beth, and I like the Claimers as minor villains. This is also the season that Rick gets his awesome coat, so that's a plus. It also introduced Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita, which is cool because they are great characters. The finale is a good episode with the Claimers finding Rick and Rick biting Joe's throat out, which is one of my favorite moments, and the end with everyone stuck in the train car is a good end for the season and a good teaser for next season. Number 4 is Season 5, and the first 3 episodes are great, and that whole arc is great, with the group escaping Terminus and the hunters eating Bob's leg and Rick's promise to Gareth. All of that was awesome, and the best part of the season. The hospital story arc with Beth was kinda slow, and overall, not that good. The second half wasn't as good, but had a lot of good moments, like the We Are the Walking Dead speech and Rick's speech after his fight with Pete. It was cool to see our group in this new place, a place with people who don't know how to survive, like the group. And in this season, we got one of the best versions of Rick with the cool coat and the big beard, and it was sad when he shaved it. Morgan coming back in the finale was nice to see, and the little teases of him throughout the season were cool. The finale overall wasn't the best finale, but it was still a good one. Number 3 is Season 3. This season is the first time we had a major time skip between seasons, and the prison is one of my favorite places in The Walking Dead. In this season, it focused mainly on our group against other people other than just zombies. The Governor is a great villain and might be my favorite Walking Dead villain. Laurie's death is better than in the comics because it felt more meaningful, and T-Dog didn't get much screen time, but it was cool the way he went out, sacrificing himself so Carol could get away. It was cool to see Merle come back. He was entertaining and also had a good death, taking out as many of the Governor's people as he could, and Daryl's reaction is heartbreaking. I would have liked to see at least one of the prisoners survive past the prisons, but their deaths were okay, with Axel's being surprising at the time. Andrea made some poor decisions this season with having multiple opportunities to go back to the prison and choosing to stay with the Governor, and also having multiple opportunities to kill the Governor and not doing so. I think she probably shouldn't have died here because she has a bigger role in the comics, but her character wasn't done well this season. Number 2 is Season 1. This season is a great start to the series. It's pretty short, but every episode is great. It's cool to see Rick reacting to the apocalypse and Morgan tell him what's going on. The guts thing was interesting to see at the time for it being the first time we see it, and a good way to get out of that situation. We see Lori and Shane get together, but Lori thinks Rick is dead. But I believe Shane when he says he thought he was. Rick reuniting with his family is a good scene. The Vados people are an interesting group that we don't really see after this, but there is a cool deleted scene that takes place before Season 2, where they go back to the Vados and they are all dead. And it would have been nice to actually see that in the show. The finale is good with them going to the CDC, and I like the explanation we got for the virus. And Jenner says something to Rick that we don't get to hear until the end of Season 2. Number 1 is Season 2, and I don't get the hate that this season gets. Yeah, it's all on a farm, and it could be a little slow, but I enjoy every second of it. Shane is great in every scene he is in. He's just so enjoyable to watch, even though he is kind of the villain of this season. The first half is a little slow and not too much happens, but I still enjoy it. In the first half, it's all about searching for Sophia, and that could get a little boring, but it leads up to episode 7 when they find out she was in the barn the whole time, and that whole episode is amazing. The second half is much better, and more action-packed. Episode 8 has some great moments like Herschel and Rick's conversation in the bar, and Rick killing those two people at the end. After that, we got Shane and Rick's fight in episode 10, which was an awesome moment, and Dale's death in episode 11. I like Dale a lot, and it was sad to see him go, especially since he had a bigger role in the comics. I like Shane's ending in this so much more than in the comics, and Shane's overall character is better than in the comics. Just how broken Rick is after he has to kill Shane is just a really good scene, and Jon Bernthal does a really good job playing Shane. The finale is great. It's one of my favorite finales in the whole show. Rick's "This isn't a democracy anymore" speech is one of the best moments in the show, and a good end to the season, with the tease of the prison after. So that was my ranking of every season of The Walking Dead so far. If you enjoyed this video, you could like and subscribe. I can't wait to see the finale of Season 10 and everything after that comes out of The Walking Dead, so see you next time, goodbye.